to working on cars, to the nuances of the Star Wars series. And to the surprise of no one who knew him, Riley's final act on Earth was to save the lives of his classmates. The 21-year-old ROTC cadet never got the chance to fulfill his dream of joining the military, but instead he was laid to rest with military honors. I would ask this community to keep Rami Al-Ramadan, Sean Dehart, Emily Haupt, and Drew Pescaro in their thoughts. Thankfully, these survivors have largely recovered from their physical wounds. But as anyone can imagine, their healing process will be a long journey. I'd also like to take an opportunity to commend the first responders, particularly the UNC Charlotte police. Their actions to quickly secure the scene and to take the defendant into custody were nothing short of heroic. I'd also like to thank the investigative and patrol divisions of the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, whose exemplary work did so much to bring forth today's swift outcome. Today's sentence brings to justice a man who is solely responsible for taking the lives of Reed and Riley and for inflicting unspeakable harm upon their families, the surviving victims, and the entire UNC Charlotte community. No court proceeding can ever provide true closure to those who have suffered this kind of trauma. And yet, today, as this sentence was handed down, it ensures that the man who committed these horrible crimes will never harm anyone again. And it places the focus, the complete focus and attention of our community back on those we have lost. It allows our community to begin the slow and difficult process of healing and of finding peace. With that, I will take your questions.
Spencer, the decision against many of the...
You've been listening to a live news conference from Mecklenburg County District Attorney Spencer Merriweather, who is speaking right now, saying today was a day about bringing a man who created unspeakable harm to justice. The defendant charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, today sentenced to 2 terms of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Which would merit capital punishment, and we also considered those mitigating circumstances, including the alleged mental infirmities of the defendant. I will tell you that had this plea not entered today, it would have been the intention of the District Attorney's Office to proceed and seek the death penalty at trial. I will also tell you that and we have communicated this with all of the affected families, that there is nothing certainly certain about trial. There is great uncertainty, even more uncertainty when it comes to a trial involving the death penalty. There are many things that even after securing a conviction and securing a death penalty sentence, that the uncertainty remains as that case goes through an appellate review. And the uncertainty even remains after that, as many families still wait for the assailants of their loved ones to be brought to justice. And so, if there was a way, any way, that I could use the authority of this office to secure certainty and secure justice, and to make sure that that defendant never harmed anyone again, I was going to do that. I understand that there will be people, including some of the victims and their families, who are unhappy with this decision. I have explained it, and I understand why it is, why they would want a different resolution to this case. Ultimately, I have to make the decision on behalf of this entire community, as well as with consultation with the victims, and I did so. It is certainly never my consideration as we think about what is the right and just outcome as to what a defendant wants. It really is about what is the, again, certain and just outcome for these proceedings.
So what I'm saying is, if anybody else go out there and decide to kill a bunch of people, they can come to your office and say, I want to plead guilty. I want to stay in jail. We know the death penalty, and we know death row is a lot different than being in prison. And these people watching this day, and I say a lot of people say, Reverend, so why you speak of the death penalty? God told David to go kill Goliath. When Goliath went and would terrorize the city. So when you come and see a man do wrong, you gave him what he wanted. He said he was tired of the college. Been going to college, he was tired of the responsibility. He could go in your jail, go into jail and sit down, and he ain't got to worry about nothing. And y'all gave him what he wanted. How can you justify that?
I will tell you that these are serious decisions, that we have to consider a number of circumstances in every single case. I can tell you that myself and the prosecutors on our homicide team review these cases carefully, and we understand the type of pain, the type of grief, and the type of trauma that victims go through under this circumstance, and that was taken into account in making this decision. You know, anyone who's lived in this town, quite frankly, longer than I have, remembers that there have been people, including Henry Louis Wallace, who had a number of victims. And the families of those women are still today, 22 years later, waiting for their assailant to be brought to justice. 22 years. That's longer than Reed and Riley walked this earth. What I will also say is that if there is a possibility at an early stage in prosecution, it has been common practice in this office for a number of years that if a person was willing to take responsibility and take a life without parole sentence and make it so that the family would not have to suffer through the waiting and the anguish and the horror of having to undergo a process like a death penalty trial, that we would faithfully consider it. Again, we have done so today, and I believe that was the right decision and the right outcome.
Would it be accurate to say that any time that a capital, defender has a chance to plea out, that y'all would take that?
I think it's fair to say that we would consider it, which is what we've done here. Alex.
Sir, what was the deciding factor for your office to essentially accept this?
Honestly, there are a number of families involved here. We've heard from all of them. My guess is that you've only heard from some of them. And there are a variety of opinions as to the rectitude of this decision. We considered all of that. We considered the gravity of this crime. We certainly live in a society where these types of mass shootings occur so often that there are some in our society who've gotten used to them. I can assure you that has not happened here. We considered that gravity. We considered that these are families, and this is a community that we did not want to have to undergo that anguish. And if we could provide certainty for them, we would do so.
Do you believe that the evidence wasn't strong enough to make you have the feeling that if this went to trial, that you would actually give the death penalty in that verdict?
I believe that every time that in this day and age, there's always a risk at trial, and there's certainly always a risk with regard to pursuit of the death penalty. I think that's been demonstrated over and over and over again, not only in this county, but also across the state. It's not that risk that was the determining factor in this particular case. It's certainly something that we have to consider because we, again, have a responsibility to those families. One of the things that is particularly powerful is that in speaking with the family, I watched and heard from representatives of those families today. And when they heard the judge issue the order and they saw the defendant walk off in handcuffs, they knew, just as you know, that the person who harmed their children was never going to be free again. In a death penalty case, or any case in that matter, where full rights of appeals are preserved, which is not the case anymore for this defendant, it can never be certain. After appeals have been lodged, and even if the trial decisions have been sustained, there is still, the case that whatever is actually handed down by a judge, that a family would have to wait to figure out what would really be the true outcome, for the person who's caused such harm. I believe that, again, the certainty of this decision and the magnitude of the sentence that was handed down today is important. I believe that it is significant, and I believe it is right.
Thank you, guys. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to get my card.
And I just want to say one more, and I know you're ready to lock it off, but I was talking, and I've been on the phone for the last few days, a lot of folks in the black community, on this deal here, they feel let down. Because we got a lot of black Americans that maybe have a gun, or maybe in a car with drugs. He don't get a chance to plead. They die right on the spot. This young man here, when they shot the school, he was allowed to go in, lay down, they handcuffed him, and they brought him out, and then he come and said, listen, this is what I want, and I want to be all right. And he's gone. We got black Americans on death penalty just for kidnapping. I mean, and they looking at this, and you take this man here, I think this man got the easy way out, and y'all gave him the easy way out. He should have stood up and been responsible for his wrong.